What's up, everyone? You've probably seen a debate pop up over the last several months about NFL stadiums and whether they should have natural grass fields or artificial turf fields. This might seem like a boring topic, but it's turned into one of the most interesting debates this year. Players like Odell Beckham Jr., Nick Bosa, and Sterling Shepard have all suffered lower body, non-contact injuries on artificial turf fields, and more than 100 current and former players have taken to social media to let their voices be heard, including George Kittle, Cooper Kupp, David Bakhtiari, and Deebo Samuel. But what exactly is the problem, and why do NFL players care so much? And will anything actually change? These are all good questions, so let's get into it. To really understand the debate between natural grass and artificial turf fields, we first need to cover some history. Of course, we all know what a natural grass field looks like. It's the surface you played on in your backyard growing up or at a nearby park, and it provides more give and flexibility to the human body than its artificial counterpart, making non-contact injuries to the knees, feet, and ankles less likely. But the irony here is that artificial fields were actually created to make people healthy, not hurt them. A US military study from the 1950s revealed that young people living in urban areas were less physically fit than their suburban counterparts. The Ford Foundation chalked this up to the lack of natural grass in most major cities and decided to spend millions of dollars to create a synthetic surface that covered the asphalt of inner-city playgrounds and mimicked the grassy fields enjoyed by kids in the suburbs. Most major cities ultimately decided the artificial surface was too expensive to install, but the industry still started to grow because of one unlikely buyer: sports teams. The Houston Astros were the first professional sports team to install artificial turf when they opened the Astrodome in 1965. But within just 5 years, more than a dozen other professional and college stadiums also went synthetic, and former NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle was even quoted as saying, "In 5 to 10 years, any problems about playing championship games in cold weather towns will be resolved. We'll have artificial turf on all of our fields by then." And Pete Rozelle wasn't necessarily wrong. There are more than 8,000 artificial turf fields in the United States today, and 16 out of the NFL's 32 teams have artificial turf in their home stadiums, including the New York Giants and Jets, the Dallas Cowboys, the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Rams and Chargers, and many others. So why do half of the NFL's 32 owners insist on having artificial turf fields? Well, the most obvious answer is money. Artificial turf companies have long bragged about how their product can save sports teams millions of dollars annually on maintenance. They talk about how it remains consistent in every environment, including rain, sleet, or snow. And they lure owners in with the promise that they'll be able to host other money-making events at their multi-billion-dollar stadiums, like concerts and basketball games. This enables owners to eliminate 7 to 8 figures in annual maintenance costs and creatively turn something that is typically seen as a liability into a cash-generating asset. But just because it's good for the owner's pocket doesn't mean it's good for player safety. NFL players have been complaining about artificial turf fields since the 1970s. For example, Chicago Bears running back Gale Sayers told Sports Illustrated in 1972 that artificial turf will shorten careers, and NFLPA president J.C. Tretter even wrote an open letter to the NFL last year saying artificial turf is significantly harder on the body than grass. But he didn't just make the claim, he backed it up with data. Tretter referenced an independent study that found players have a 28% higher rate of non-contact lower extremity injuries when playing on artificial turf. And of those non-contact injuries, players have a 32% higher rate of non-contact knee injuries on turf, and a staggering 69% higher rate of non-contact foot or ankle injuries on turf compared to grass. The reason for this is actually pretty simple. Artificial turf doesn't always tear away or divot like natural grass, so athletes often get their cleats stuck in the playing surface and find themselves at a higher risk of non-contact lower limb injuries as a result. But the interesting part of this story doesn't necessarily revolve around the grass itself. The real question is why NFL owners won't do anything about it. Players like Josh Allen and Dak Prescott make $40 million annually and bring a multiple of that back in value to the team's bottom line. Shouldn't owners want to protect that investment? And it's not like there aren't solutions for indoor stadiums. The Las Vegas Raiders and Arizona Cardinals have already engineered and installed retractable field systems. This allows them to push the field outside during the week so it can get the required maintenance and sunlight, and then they move it back inside roughly 24 hours before each game. And if owners don't want to give up parking spaces, there's even a solution for that. For example, Real Madrid is currently constructing a retractable pitch that will be housed in 6 underground levels that reach a depth of over 75 feet. The $250 million underground greenhouse will feature an irrigation system and automated mowers, as well as ultraviolet lights to promote growth. But more importantly, it proves that natural grass fields can be used in any environment. So the NFL's excuses are starting to run dry. Player safety has become a big issue within the world's most profitable sports league. And while owners have the ultimate amount of leverage against individual players, my guess is this is something the Players Association eventually presses on in next CBA negotiations.